Welcome to Let's Talk Tech. What a great episode we have this month. I'm going to discuss media literacy and fact checking our sources as we listen to all of the news coverage in this election year. And I have a very special guest this month, our own Cole Young, who produces this show, but also hosts Sports Corner every Friday on Village TV. We're going to talk about streaming for sports, talk about the NFL, Red Zone, and all things related to sports, and a little bit about fantasy football and fantasy football apps. So stay tuned. So today I wanted to discuss an increasingly important topic in our modern world, media literacy and fact-checking, particularly as we are in the election cycle and our world is dependent on technology tools for information. What I am sharing is based on research, not opinions. I am simply here to educate my audience, not to tell them what to do, just how to do it if you're interested. Many of us remember when news came from a handful of trusted sources, the evening broadcast, our local newspaper, or respected magazines. Today's media landscape is vastly different. We're inundated with information from countless outlets, social media, websites, apps. While this gives us unprecedented access to information, it also presents new challenges. It's more important than ever to approach media with a discerning eye. So let's explore some of the key strategies to navigate this very complex information environment. First and foremost, consider the source. Is it a reputable news organization or unknown website? Which? Check the About page and look for signs of credibility. Read beyond headlines. Headlines can be and are sensationalized. Read the full article to get the complete picture. Check the date. Old news stories sometimes recirculate as if they're current events. Look for supporting sources. Credible articles often link their sources or references to multiple experts. Be aware of your own biases. We tend to accept information that confirms our existing beliefs more readily. That's just the facts. So now let's delve deeper into some fact-checking methods. Use multiple sources. Don't rely on just one news outlet. Compare how different reputable sources report on the same story. Do a reverse image search if you're on the internet. For questionable images, use Google Images or TinEye to see if an image has been altered or taken out of context. That's really popular right now, falsifying pictures. Check official websites. For government policies or scientific information, go directly to official.gov or .edu websites. Look for expert consensus. On scientific or medical topics, consider what the majority of experts in the field say, not just one outlier opinion. Be cautious of echo chambers. Make a conscious effort to seek out diverse viewpoints, especially on social media. Watch for unusual URLs. Be wary of sites with strange endings like .com.co, which might be mimicking legitimate news sources. Check author credentials. For specialized topics, verify the author's area of expertise. And use fact-checking tools. Websites like Snoops, factcheck.org, and Political Fact can help verify claims. Browser extensions like NewsGuards can provide quick credibility ratings for news sites. And be aware of sponsored content. Look for labels like sponsored or partner contact, which can indicate paid articles. And verify extraordinary claims. If a story seems too outlandish to be true, it probably is. Check for context. Sometimes true information can be presented in a very misleading way. Look for the full context of quotes or statistics. Be aware of the first impression bias. It's human nature to give extra weight to the first information we hear on a topic. This can lead us to become stuck with one viewpoint, even if it's not accurate. To counter this, actively seek out alternative perspectives on important issues.
When you hear a new claim, make it a habit to think, that's interesting. I wonder what experts are saying about this. Remember that it's okay and often beneficial to change your mind when presented with new, credible information. Practice intellectual humility. Recognize that no one, regardless of age or experience, has all the answers. Be open to learning and updating your views. You don't have to believe something, and it's okay to be skeptical. Taking a moment to verify information before sharing it can help us stop the spread of misinformation. Our generation has a wealth of life experience and wisdom. By combining that with these media literacy skills, we can navigate today's complex information environment and help guide younger generations to do the same. Fact-checking doesn't mean being cynical about everything. It's about developing a healthy skepticism and the skills to verify information. With practice, these habits become second nature, helping us stay well-informed in the digital age.
Someone asked me recently, what is Thrive? Thrive is a group in the village that seeks to inspire quality living in every chapter of our lives. They asked, how do you do that? We bring people together and promote themes such as kindness, positivity, joyfulness, resilience, and mindfulness in a complex world, as these behaviors enhance wellness and increase cognitive and physical health. Come thrive with us at our next event. Just RSVP by emailing us.
Well, welcome to Let's Talk Tech. And I am very happy this month because on with us today is our own Cole Young, who produces my show and his own show, which you might watch, called Sports Corner every week, where he talks about sports. So today, we're going to kind of flip the table a little bit, and I'm going to ask the question of the month to Cole, and then we're going to go over a lot of different options as it relates to the question. So thank you, Cole, for joining me today on this side of the camera.
Thank you. Yeah, it's fun to be on the other side of the camera for once.
Well, I think if people watch you on Sports Corner, you do a pretty good job. You've come a long way. What are you on your second year of doing that now?
Oh man, we're coming up on 3 years in February.
Wow.
I think this week will be the 124th episode. So yeah, I've come a long
Wow.
way from the early ones were a little rough, but we've come a long way.
Well, just like Let's Talk Tech, the early ones were a little rougher than they are
Right,
now. And
right.
you
Got to
never
work out
know,
the
I
kinks a
still have
little
my
bit. Yeah.
days, right? But we've talked so much about streaming here in the village, and we are moving to that environment. And it's coming upon us very quickly. Let's Talk Tech, as you mentioned about your show being so old. Our show is actually going into its fourth year, or this is like the first episode of the fourth year.
Right. Yeah.
And so, one of the things that was the reasoning behind Let's Talk Tech was that we were going to move the village forward from this cable environment into this streaming environment. But, as much as we've talked about it, we haven't talked a lot about sports. And we have a lot of avid sports fans in the village, as you know.
Right.
So my question is really, there are so many options out there. So I was hoping today that you and I could kind of go over them and kind of what you think are the better and kind of the pros and cons.
Right. Yeah, sounds good. And like you said, there's so many different sports, and for each sport, there's so many different streaming services. So as a fan of everything like myself, it can be overwhelming trying to figure out, what I need to pay for, which apps I need to have and all that. We can start because it is October. So, it's middle of football season, which is arguably the biggest sport in the world. So we're in, a few weeks into the NFL season now. And there's so many different apps. And even this year, there's been new apps, and because there's games on new days. There was a Friday game, there's Saturday, Black Friday. There's a ton of different days, and with new days comes new apps. So yeah, might as well go through the list and see what's the best.
Right. So I mean, I think probably most people are familiar with ESPN, but you told me there's a new app or a new streaming service. So can you tell me what that is and a little bit about it?
Right. Yeah. Either last year or the year before, so it's about 2 years old. NFL came out with their own, and it's NFL Plus, and then a step above that is the NFL Plus Premium. So what that entails is with the app, either on your phone, smart TV, anything like that, you get every in-market game. So that's Thursday night, that's the two Sunday morning games, the Sunday afternoon game, Sunday night, and Monday night. So you get all the in-market games. And on top of that, if you get NFL Premium, which I use, you get Red Zone, which a lot of people are a huge fan of Red Zone, and I can dive into that a little bit more. So for
Yeah.
me, I'm very vocal about it on my show as well. I'm a Denver Broncos fan, and a lot of times because being a Broncos fan, well, they haven't been that good lately either, so they're not always the primetime game or the in-market game. So I don't really have a game to watch, so I'll throw on Red Zone. And what Red Zone is, it's their slogan is 7 hours of commercial-free football. So at 10 a.m. on Sundays, it starts and it cuts back and forth to show all the major highlights, the scoring plays, first down, everything from every game that's on all day long. So
Okay.
it can, the first few watches, it can be a little overwhelming because you start to get into a game and then like, oh, wait, why are we on the next game already? And then, yeah, like earlier this season, for some reason, they had 10 morning games in the NFL. So they had 10 different boxes of every game on the screen. And it can be a little overwhelming, but if you're like me and you want to see what's going on and not miss anything, it's a great option.
Well, I've seen Red Zone on the TV in one of our rooms here. Since I'm not a big football fan, I used to be. I've gotten away from it, but I have seen Red Zone, and I just know that it does switch back and forth between games. And I would say that if you're really into football, it is the way to go.
Right. Yeah. And even if you have people over, it's everyone has different favorite teams. It's a really good thing to have on in the background because, like I said, you don't miss anything. And the no commercials is great too. It's just nonstop football all day long.
Okay, well that's pretty good for those then. So
Right.
what is the NFL and NFL Plus, is it pretty competitively priced?
It's pretty decent. If you just want the NFL Plus, where you'll just get the in-market games, like I was talking about, I think it's $6.99 a month.
Okay.
Then if you want the NFL Plus Premium, it's $14.99. And for me, that's perfect. And then I activate it in September and I deactivate it in February when the season ends. So you're not even paying
Right.
the full year.
Well, that's good because I think that's, some of the other ones that we might be talking about, you pay for the period of time. And football at this point, even though they do have these other games outside of the normal football season, still the majority is going to be in the fall because that is football season.
Right.
Um, and of course, even like for us, I'll have to put a little plug in because Fresno State actually went and played the University of Michigan.
Hmm.
For me, that was one of those times in my house again where I'm rooting for both because I'm a Michigan fan, and
Right.
but the underdogs, got to root for the underdog, right?
Exactly.
So and Fresno State didn't embarrass themselves, so
Right.
we
Yep. That was a
appreciate
good
that.
game. Yeah.
That was a good game. So, so I think the one that everybody is kind of familiar with is ESPN because
Right.
you've had that. That's been a cable channel for years and years and years too. But obviously, they've gone into the streaming market as well. So, what can you tell me about them?
Right. And to your point, when you think sports on TV, most people think ESPN. It's just the one you go to. So a few years back, they came out with ESPN Plus, and that's been bundled with Hulu and Disney, and we can cover that later. But ESPN Plus is great because it's a lot of the things you wouldn't find on regular TV. So like you were just saying, if you're a Fresno State fan, you're not always going to find their games, and a lot of those will be on ESPN. Whether it's football, I mean, there's volleyball, softball, soccer, any kind of sport you can think of is usually on ESPN Plus. And then a lot of people are really into combat sports like UFC, boxing, and that's where you'll find a lot of the pay-per-view events is on ESPN Plus. So for those, you pay the monthly fee, and then they give you a discount for the pay-per-view. And yeah, they just have a great selection of pretty much any sport you can think of on there.
So what other things, I mean, I think probably some of the major networks that have streaming like YouTube and Hulu, what about them?
Right. Yeah. My personal favorite is YouTube TV.
Okay,
It can be a pretty penny, but if you want to watch every game, then it's the best option because YouTube TV is, I know we've talked about it on Let's Talk Tech a lot, but it's
mhm,
essentially cable. It's in terms of channel selection. So
right,
with that, you get the NBC, CBS, Fox, ESPN, and that's all you need to watch football. Um, but what I also like because YouTube TV and the NFL merged together with the NFL Sunday Ticket, um,
right,
and that's an extra service you would add on to the YouTube TV. But that you get to see every game all season, in market, out of market, doesn't matter time of day, whatever. You get every single game. So, like I said, for myself as a Broncos fan, that's great because I get to see all their games. Uh,
right.
and we have a family plan because my entire family is fans of different teams. My dad's a Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan. My mom likes the Cowboys. It's a whole thing. So that works best for us because we can see everything. And you can do last year they came out on YouTube TV where you can do up to 4 games on the screen at once. So it's a split screen. So again, that's great. So you can watch everything all at the same time.
So that's a good point that you brought up because some TVs have the function of the split screen, but YouTube TV, it's all within the app. I actually am a YouTube TV fan as well, having moved over to them a couple years ago from another service. You know, we do that, and then we buy that NFL Sunday ticket. And it's not cheap, but because my husband is so into football, for him, of course he's going to pay that because, you know, Saturday and Sunday he is just watching college games on Saturday and then Monday night football and then Thursday and you know, like you said, so YouTube TV I think is probably got the best bang for the buck
Mhm.
on
And to your point,
all options for sports
right. And it's not
and other streaming.
exactly. It's not just NFL. Like you said, it's college football, NBA, baseball, hockey, soccer, everything, because it's just, essentially just a full channel guide. And on top of that, just regular TV also.
Yeah, and I don't know about Hulu.
To your point, I kind of mentioned it earlier that Hulu, ESPN, and Disney are all kind of one bundle now. So if you
Mhm.
have ESPN Plus, it shows up on your Hulu. So that's kind of where that sports comes in there. You can watch whatever's on there on
Okay.
the Hulu app too.
Okay, so that makes sense. So you're going on Hulu and then it's part of that package.
Right.
Um, so, you know, and another one that I've noticed is coming in and people are wondering why they have to pay for things is Peacock. And I heard someone complaining in the last couple of weeks about that they were charging to watch a game on Peacock, but isn't it NBC?
Yeah, it's for people that if they don't have YouTube TV or basic cable channels, you would have to pay the monthly for Peacock subscription. Um, and it's relatively inexpensive. I want to say it's $7.99 a month. But
Okay,
so that is NBC, and NBC is every Sunday night NFL game. So
okay.
like I said, if you had to buy that separately, you want to watch the Sunday night game, everyone knows Sunday night football. So that's one of the options to watch all those. But that also provides like English Premier League soccer. There's a ton of different sports on there as well. So it's not just for those, that one football game a week.
Right, right. So, what about like Amazon Prime or Paramount? What have they got?
Yeah, I think it was last season, maybe 2 seasons ago. The NFL and Amazon worked out a deal where Amazon Prime would exclusively stream Thursday night football games. Because in the history of the NFL, Thursday night football is still a relatively new thing. And it went back and forth. It was on NFL Network, a bunch of different things. So now it's exclusively on Amazon Prime. So
Okay.
that's where you would go if you want to watch Thursday games. But kind of like I was saying earlier, to go back to the NFL Plus, if you have that, you still can see the Thursday night games. So you wouldn't have to get both apps essentially.
Yeah, the only difference I think with Amazon Prime is so many people already have it,
Mhm.
you know.
Yeah.
So for them it's, you know, if they're just if Thursday night football or, you know, some of the other maybe if they have any other sports content that they show,
Mhm.
they're already paying their annual fee for Amazon Prime, so they would automatically not have to pay more. And I
Exactly.
think and I think that's one of the points of all of this is, you know, what this goes back to me talking about when you're deciding on what streaming service in general, making a list of what you watch most.
Right.
And that's kind of what leads you to which streaming service that might be best suited for you. It would be the same with the sports. What sports do you watch? Write down what is the most important, and then that's what you decide. So if watching a football game here and there is something that's all that you care about, and you have Amazon Prime, there you go. Or if you have YouTube already, YouTube TV, the bigger YouTube, you're watching it as part of on just a regular network channel.
Exactly.
Like doesn't Fox does most of the games, right? The NFL games.
Yeah, Sundays it's
Sunday.
CBS. So yeah, if you're a casual fan, or if you're a fan but you don't have a favorite team necessarily, and you just want to watch the two games that they have on TV on Sundays, then yeah, YouTube TV
Right.
is great for that. Or going back to the NFL Plus, because it's just the two in-market games, and that's all you need. That's all you need. So yeah, that's not a bad option.
Right.
Yeah,
So,
and
so yeah, so let me tie that up a little bit so sports you watch, that's a consideration. Do you
right,
want to watch local or regional games? Um, price, price is obviously, because there are some things that are less expensive and some things that might be more expensive. And, again, what is it worth to you if this is something you enjoy? And, life is short. I'm all about doing what you can, right?
right,
So
yep,
if you can swing it and this is something you enjoy, and then also think about the add-ons, kind of like the Red Zone or which offers all these different games at one time, those types of things. I think those are kind of the things I'm thinking of. And you mentioned the 7 hours, that Red Zone gives you 7 hours of straight coverage. So
yep.
if you're really into it, like you and your family.
Exactly. Yeah, that's my favorite part every Sunday, waking up, and when that kicks off at 10 a.m. and I just don't move for the next 7 hours, watch football. It's the best.
Well, so it just brings you food, I'm assuming.
Exactly. Yep.
Uh,
Take food breaks every now
uh,
and then. That's it.
well, it's nice, and you bring up a good point that kind of puts me towards what I want to talk about a little bit next. Was, you and your family are very into this, and it's great because this brings you all together. But fantasy football has come up of late, and I know in my family, my stepson and my grandson, they are big fantasy football players, and it brings them together. But I think for our older audience, it provides a bridge to being able to work with, to have something in common with your grandkids,
Right.
to be playing fantasy football. But it does seem a little complex in some ways. But what is your take on fantasy football? I mean, are there apps? What makes it harder and what makes it easier?
Right. I mean, I'm a huge proponent of it. I've been a commissioner of one league for probably 15 years now. But to your point, it's even with me and my friends, it's kind of a good excuse to talk to your friends every week. Like you said, it bridges the gap a little bit. But it's a lot of fun. It is a lot of work, especially if you're like me and you have 4 different teams. But yeah, but yeah, it's gotten only easier because of apps. People used to do it the old-fashioned way, where they draft on a whiteboard, write down their team, and then keep track with pen and paper on scoring points. That's essentially what fantasy football is. You draft a team, and however many yards you get is a certain amount of points. A touchdown's worth a certain amount of points, and you're just trying to beat your opponent every week. But yeah, there's plethora of different apps. ESPN has one, NFL has one, Yahoo Sports has one. But yeah, it's just a lot of fun. And like you said, it's a good way to keep in touch with family, friends, everything. My dad and I have co-managed a team for a few years now, because he doesn't want to have to put the work in for it, and he trusts that I can do it. But still, it's fun talking, seeing how our team did and all that stuff. But yeah,
Well, exactly. I mean, and just like fantasy football, from my understanding, is that you pick players based on real players. So, like, your team might be made up of a quarterback from the Jets, and a, a defense from the Lions, for example, right?
right, exactly. A good way to compare it is back in elementary school when you draft the football team, you just pick your friends in a random order. Same kind of thing. You just draft players based on how you think they're going to do this year. So, for example, Christian McCaffrey is the running back for the 49ers. He had an MVP caliber season last year. So pretty much everyone in every league took him with the first overall pick this year. So yeah, it's all just projections, and a lot of times it's just gut feeling, see who thinks going to be good this year. But yeah.
Right. But like stuff like them getting hurt and things like that, like throws a monkey wrench in, right?
Exactly. Yeah, I have a friend who literally their entire team got hurt this past week, so they're flailing a little bit now, but yeah. So it's a lot of you can do so much research and data analysts and stuff if you want to, but at the end of the day is life happens and sometimes it doesn't go to plan.
So when you have these leagues, so like you're watching the game, you're watching it with your, let's say your mom and dad are watching their games and everybody's talking about it. Are you actually like texting your friends and talking about it while the game's in real time, or?
Yeah, we have a big group chat, and people will trash talk a little bit if they're playing someone, and my receiver's doing so much better today, whatever. So it's a lot of fun. And like I said, you can just track on the app how your players are doing. So it's so seamless and easy now. And it's also I have some friends that maybe weren't into football that much before, convinced them to join a league, and it just makes them an automatic fan because you're so invested in these players, you want to watch and see how they're doing.
Well, exactly. And I think even now that you said that, it reminded me of somebody like a news person on TV was talking about how they got their teenage daughter involved, and suddenly now they're talking about things where they had nothing to talk about before. And
Right.
of course, not to mention that there's, this social involvement with, a singer, and
Yeah.
who's dating the NFL person who has
Right.
now
Yeah.
brought in a whole nother audience to football that wasn't there before. So,
Exactly.
but I think that the value of what you're saying about fantasy football, of the social aspect and bringing people together, I think there's huge value in that, rather than it being an isolated, you're sitting alone in your living room watching a game, and you don't have anybody. A lot of our community people don't live with anyone, so this gives them an opportunity playing fantasy football to interact with others, during that Sunday where they're watching 7 hours of football
Exactly. Yep.
stream.
Yep.
Well, gosh, this has been a great conversation. So I hope for the audience, we'll put up a lot of information. Or during the time we've been talking, we've been showing you different pricing and things like that. But again, I just urge you to just determine what's of importance to you as it relates to streaming sports. And that's where you would start in making a decision on what you might want to buy from a streaming perspective, or if you even need to buy it at all, because maybe you just want that Thursday night football game and that. So, well, Cole, thank you. This has been fun having you on this side with
No.
me, and I appreciate that. So thank you so much for joining me, and we'll be right back.
Thanks.
Well, that's it for this month's episode. And I just want to again thank you for joining us today. And I hope you learned something new about media literacy and streaming for sports. So, again, as always, I love doing this show and being your host. But remember, think before you click and be kind when posting online. Bye bye.